True power doesn't come with noise. It doesn't announce itself with flashing lights or thunderous applause. It arrives quietly disguised as stillness. From the teachings of Laozi and Marcus Aurelius, to the quiet strategies of ancient sages and modern thinkers, the real art of control has always been about what is not seen, not said, and not done. In a world that thrives on constant reaction, the person who masters silence, observation, and inner restraint becomes something rare, almost mythical. Because the truth is this: the greatest strength is not in what you do, but in what you choose not to do. Today, we're diving deep into this ancient philosophy of stillness, how silence becomes power, how observation becomes influence, and how emptiness becomes the most potent form of control. This is not a lesson in passivity. It's a blueprint for mastery. Silence has long been mistaken for weakness. But silence true, intentional silence is not the absence of voice, but the presence of immense control. Imagine a room full of debate, shouting, urgency. And then one person, calm, quiet, not reacting. They don't need to raise their voice to be heard. Their silence demands attention. Why? Because silence implies confidence. It's a message that says, I do not need to prove myself to you. In psychology, we see this in negotiations where the person who can sit comfortably in silence often wins. In leadership, those who listen more than they speak tend to earn more trust. And in life, the quieter you become, the more you hear. Silence gives you something noise never can: space to think, to observe, to strategize. Start noticing your daily interactions. Are you speaking to fill the air, or are you allowing silence to sharpen your message? Let's take a step deeper. Stillness is not laziness, it's precision. Think of a hawk circling in the sky. It doesn't flap its wings frantically. It glides, waits, watches, and when the moment is right, it strikes with devastating accuracy. This is the essence of strategic stillness, not acting impulsively, but waiting for exactly the right moment to act. It's the art of doing less, but accomplishing more. In Stoic philosophy, Epictetus reminds us that we don't control external events, we control our responses. Stillness is that response. It's not paralysis, it's preparation. Ask yourself, how many times have you acted too soon? Said something out of anger? Made a move out of fear? Stillness teaches us to wait not for the sake of waiting, but for wisdom to surface. Let's talk about observation. Not just looking, but truly seeing. Observation is the quiet power that turns information into influence. It's how Sherlock Holmes solves the unsolvable. It's how generals predict enemy movements. And it's how emotionally intelligent people navigate conflict with calm precision. Observation begins when we turn off the noise not just around us, but within us. When we stop projecting our assumptions and start receiving what's actually there. The twitch of an eyebrow, a pause in speech, the tension in a room. All of it is data if you're paying attention. This doesn't require talent. It requires presence. Mindfulness is the gateway to powerful observation. Try this. During your next conversation, don't rush to respond. Instead, study the other person. Not judgmentally, just curiously. What are they not saying? What are their eyes doing when they speak? What does their posture reveal? Over time, you'll start to see patterns. And those patterns, they're leverage. Now, let's look inward. Silence and observation are outward disciplines, but their true power lies in emotional containment. The ability to feel deeply and respond wisely. This is where most people fail. They react instead of reflect. They let their anger drive decisions. They speak from ego, not understanding. But what if, instead, you learn to hold space for your emotions, without letting them take the wheel? Imagine a storm inside you, but you're standing still, calm, grounded, watching it pass. This is not suppression. It's discipline. And it's one of the highest forms of power. Practice breathing when tension rises. Feel the emotion, but don't become it. Ask yourself, what would a wiser version of me do right now? Containment is not about bottling up. It's about knowing the right time to speak, to act, to release. Now here's a paradox most people miss. Sometimes, your absence speaks louder than your presence. Think of someone whose disappearance made you notice them more. Or a moment of quiet that changed the mood in a room. Absence creates space, and space creates meaning. The greatest leaders and strategists know when to pull away, not to disappear, but to create tension, anticipation, clarity. This is the power of the pause, of not replying instantly, of leaving some things unsaid. When you don't show up to every argument, every distraction, every invitation for drama, you protect your energy and you increase your impact. So start asking yourself, where can I create more space? Which conversations do I not need to have? Which parts of my day can I let go of to make room for intentional living? Let's tie this all together. You are the architect of your own power, and control is not something you seize, it's something you cultivate. By practicing silence, you make space for clarity. By observing patiently, you learn to anticipate. By containing emotion, you act with wisdom. And by mastering absence, you gain influence. Control doesn't mean rigidity. It means alignment with your values, with your purpose, with the flow of life. It's about living from the inside out, not letting the external world dictate your inner world. So how do you apply this? Start small. Dedicate 10 minutes a day to complete silence. No phone, no noise. Just breathe and listen to your mind. Pick one conversation this week where you'll consciously observe more than you speak. When triggered emotionally, pause, breathe, wait, reflect. And choose not to participate in something that drains you, whether it's gossip, meaningless scrolling, or a toxic dynamic. These are small acts, but over time, they form a foundation for something extraordinary: mastery. Laozi once said, "To know others is intelligence. To know yourself is true wisdom. To master others is strength. But to master yourself is true power." That's the path we've explored today. A path not of domination, but of discipline. Not of shouting louder, but of listening deeper. Not of doing more, but of doing with intention. If you've made it this far, thank you for your time and presence. If this resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who walks the same path. Subscribe for more philosophical journeys like this. And remember, power is not in how loud you are, but in how deeply you listen, observe, and choose. Peace and stillness on your journey. Until next time.